So, long story short, I, 29 female, was engaged to my sister's now husband, Mike. A month before the wedding, I walked in on my sister, 33, Lily, and Mike, 33, having intimacy on my bed. I dumped him on the spot. After doing some digging, I found out that they had been having an affair for 6 months, and that my sister was 2 months pregnant with his baby. Most of our family had cut out Lily, but after her daughter Emily was born, she was accepted back into the family. This is mostly because Emily was the first grandchild, first great-grandchild, and first niece. Lily and Mike also got married not long after Emily, 6, was born. Even though Lily has been accepted back into the family, I don't speak to her or Mike or Emily. I don't want anything to do with them. I know Emily is innocent in all this, but being around her and seeing her just reminds me of all the pain I felt when I found out about Lily and Mike. Our parents have tried to get me to forgive and forget, but I just can't. So now the issue is that my parents usually babysit Emily for my sister when she works or runs errands. Lily loves to drop off Emily unannounced. Last week she apparently had an emergency at work, and she came to drop off Emily, but our parents weren't home. Our parents actually live with me. The house we live in was left to me by our grandparents. They had gone out with some friends and would not be back until the next day. When I told her this, she begged and asked if I could watch Emily since she wasn't working that day. I flat out told her no. She kept begging, saying it's just for a few hours and that she was my niece. I told her no again. She then said okay, and I just walked away. A few minutes later, I heard her car pull off and the doorbell ring. When I opened the door, I saw Emily standing there. When I asked her about her mom, she said, "Mommy said you'll look after me." So I brought her inside and called Lily and told her that if she didn't come back for her child, I would call the police and tell them that someone abandoned their child at my door. After some back and forth, she came back and picked Emily up. The next day when my parents came home, they were furious at me for what I did. They went off, saying I should have already gotten over my hate for Lily and her family and grow up, and about how I almost cost Lily her job. I tried telling them that I have gotten over it, but I simply don't want anything to do with Lily and her family. They kept going on until I just walked away. After that, I've been getting calls and messages from Lily's friends, calling me an idiot and some other names. I spoke to my other siblings and some friends about it, and I got conflicting opinions. Some say I was justified in how I reacted, while others say I acted like an idiot and could have just watched the kid for a few hours. Was I an idiot here? Not the idiot. History aside, you do not just drop your kid off on someone who has told you, "No, I will not be responsible for your kid." This sister is an entitled idiot who thinks she can basically do whatever she wants. Sister wants sister's fiance? Check. Babysitting on demand? Check. If OP thought about it, I bet there is a list of things she just expects that a typical adult would ask first, not just expect. Right. What if you hadn't heard the doorbell ring or thought it was sister and just ignored it? That could have ended so badly. OP, you said no and the child was abandoned. You even called to warn your sister to collect her child, which was more communication than you were provided. And what your parents are trying to tell you is, we don't care you haven't gotten over this. We have. Not the idiot, but it's time you move out. You are not doing your mental health any good at all, continuing to live somewhere where Lily and Mike and Emily feel free to rock up at any time. It will also avoid situations like this. The fact that your parents are living in your house is not okay. Sounds like it's time for them to find somewhere else, because not only are they disrespecting your perfectly reasonable boundaries, they're doing it while freeloading off you. Maybe your sister can take them, and they can see Emily as much as they like. I totally support the idea of selling the house, giving them notice, and moving somewhere where they don't have the address. My brother and his wife are expecting their 5th child together. Last week, her sister threw a kids-friendly baby shower party, and I was sent an invitation. I, 21, looked at the date, and even though I had an upcoming exam, also I'm not close with my brother's in-laws, I decided to make time and attend, since my sister-in-law wanted me there so badly. I arrived at the party, and there were plenty of kids. I took a seat and watched as the kids made a huge noise and disrupted the party atmosphere. That includes sister-in-law's kids, of course. Sister-in-law and her sisters were becoming frustrated. Sister-in-law took all the kids upstairs and told me to follow her. She had them go into the guest room and asked me to watch them for a few minutes until she returns. I told her thanks, but I wasn't up for it. She said, just 5 minutes, sister-in-lawly. Don't act like kids are terrifying creatures. I said, okay, 5 minutes. She shut the door and was gone for 5, then 10, then 12 minutes. The kids were already making noise. I called her phone and she told me she was coming. I waited 5 minutes, then another 5. I went downstairs to speak to her. She saw me, pulled me aside, telling me to go back upstairs and watch the kids. I said, why? I'm here for the party, not to babysit. She insisted and pressured me, which made me upset. I told her no, I wasn't going to be stuck in a room with over 13 kids to babysit while she and family have fun downstairs. I'm not even good with children. Yes, I love my nieces and nephews, but managing over 13 kids is a lot and not an easy task for someone like me. I took my jacket and said I was leaving. She begged me to come back, but I walked out. My brother was livid. She told him I walked out, and he said I shouldn't have, and called me unsupportive and negative to walk out the way I did and embarrassing his wife in front of guests. I told him about the 13 plus kids she had set me up to babysit and reminded him I had important stuff to do, but still found time to attend. She instead isolated me in a room while she celebrated. He and my parents want me to apologize for my rudeness and messing up sister-in-law's event. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. First, after 5 kids, who has a baby shower? Give me a break. Second, they should have made plans for childcare if they wanted a kid-friendly shower, and that doesn't mean you. Everyone else is the idiot here, but not you. Having a shower for a 5th baby is insane, but then expecting you to be free childcare without even asking is ludicrous. If they wanted adult time to celebrate the new baby coming and enjoy each other's company, they should have had the husbands watch the kids or hired some actual babysitter to keep them occupied. I'm pretty sure there is no babysitter in the world willing to babysit 13 random kids of all ages in one tiny room, no matter what they pay. If that person exists, they deserve a medal and hazard pay. And that's precisely why sister-in-law didn't ask. She was obviously trying to manipulate you into being the babysitter. Not the idiot. You communicated clearly and were very patient with the whole situation. You handled it very well. If your sister-in-law and the rest of your family want to make so many children, they should be ready to take care of them. Seems like they're trying to shove their view of what a woman is supposed to do down your throat. Good thing you did not let them step on you. The audacity of some people. They do something messed up, complain that they were embarrassed, etc., play the victim card, and then want you to apologize? Apologize for what? I'm sorry that you invited me to a party so that you could use me as a free babysitter? Her poor planning does not then become your responsibility. So you choose to have kids at your party? Great! Plan accordingly. It isn't like she is clueless about how kids behave. She has 4 of them already. No excuses at all. I met Will when I was 22. Will was 29 with 2 kids and had newly been widowed. We had a whirlwind courtship where he introduced me to the kids and got me involved in their lives very early, the first few days after I met him. Will said really quickly he was sure I was the one, not only for himself but also for his kids, that we'd have an incredible happy family life. We married when I was 23. Will was 30 and his kids were 8 and 6. Our wedding ceremony also included the kids and I making promises to each other, which was Will's idea. Soon Will shoved all the childcare onto me. I wasn't a stay-at-home spouse. I worked full-time and always have, but he always had reasons for me to do childcare. Him being sore from doing a physical job, me being better at it since I babysat kids this age in the past and he never had, or girl stuff for his daughter, or cooking or anything. He always had some reason and it always ended up on me. He started playing video games and relaxing from getting home until bed because he was tired and he was bringing in the money and keeping the roof over everyone's heads, though that wasn't really true. He said he deserved to relax. Then he went out with his friends or brought them back to drink beer and watch loud TV. He developed a major attitude with me and encouraged the same in the kids. They found it funny. He started openly disrespecting me and encouraged them to also. He was the ultimate fun dad, and I got put in the role of the mean witch. Sometimes they all ganged up on me and mocked me, but also all expected me to serve them and constantly be jumping up to care for them. By the end of the first year, I realized the marriage was a big mistake, but felt guilty leaving because of my promises to the kids. Another year went by, and I realized that no matter how I tried and knew they were only kids and I didn't really blame them, I genuinely hated both of the kids, and I could not lie to myself anymore and pretend that I loved them. I did not, and I never would. One day I just walked out, packed up everything of mine, and moved out while nobody was at home. I left a note explaining it wasn't working and saying goodbye. That was the end. QS stormed for my ex and a bitter divorce, but we both walked away with what we went into the marriage with. Not much for either of us. I had never legally adopted the kids, so I had no rights or responsibilities around them, and I never reached out to any of them again. So honestly, I was delighted to be rid of all of them. 15 years have gone by, and that seems like a lifetime ago or another person's life, but I'm still in my 30s. I was recently shocked to get a message from Tamara, Will's daughter, now 25. Tamara said I betrayed and traumatized her for life for abandoning them after my promises to them. She said I had a responsibility to never leave no matter what. I know she remembers the horrible way she treated me though. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Your husband didn't want a wife. He chose a younger woman and whisked her off her feet to be his live-in maid, nanny, and cook. He knew what he was doing when he asked you to make that promise to the kids, emotionally manipulating you into staying, even though he treated you like crap. Sadly, the children lost their mother, but their father encouraging them to treat you like the evil stepmom was cruel to both you and them. Clearly, the behavior she showed continued after you left, and he kept telling Tamara and her brother how awful you were. You got yourself out of there. Well done for being strong and wise enough to do so. Unfortunately, many people don't have the strength to do that. I think it's often safer psychologically to blame others than the toxic parent, particularly if they only have one. I'm hearing her saying that they wanted someone to protect them from this toxic parenting, and you are an easy target for her anger. You did the right thing, but she's angry about what she's lived through. Hopefully, she will eventually realize that someone several years younger than she is now shouldn't have been put in that position either. Message her back and explain it was a toxic marriage, that their dad set you up to be the family punching bag and nanny. He wasn't looking for love or a partner, but a doormat, and he encouraged you kids to do the same. Tell her their hang-ups are their own, and then say that you're done with that chapter of your life and will never again allow their father to drag your life down. Not the idiot. Those kids have been fed lies and delusions about what that marriage was like. My 46 male, wife 43, passed away about 2 years ago. Since then, I haven't had the courage or the desire to try and date. My kids are all in college, so I try and go out for dinner by myself once a week to get out of the house. When I got to the restaurant, I glanced at the menu, and when my waitress showed up, I was immediately struck by how much she looked like my deceased wife. I ordered my food, and I worked up the nerve when she returned to give it to me to ask her out to dinner. She laughed and she said she would think about it and left. I felt good about asking until I was done eating and a different waiter came by to take payment. I asked him what happened to the previous waitress, and he told me that she didn't feel comfortable serving me anymore and asked him to clear her table for her. I felt so embarrassed after putting myself out there and getting rejected like that. I thought it would have been okay, and it would have been better just to have heard a simple no from her. Was I the idiot for asking her out? You are the idiot. If you want to ask a waitress out, leave your number on the receipt. Way less awkward and puts her in control without having to feel pressured by your presence. If she's interested, cool. If not, Big Jerry working the grill will probably text you. You are the idiot. It's much better known now that you don't make romantic moves at people in their places of work, so please keep this in mind going forward. Also, while I wish you well, I don't know if you're over the loss of your wife nearly enough to date if you're asking out women who look like she did. If anything, you might want to hit up a grief counselor and speak to them about how you're doing. Grief is complicated and ugly, and it's worth speaking to a professional. Take care of yourself. and be sure to be considerate of others. When you date, folks deserve to be cherished for who they are, not who you think they might resemble or act similarly to. You are the idiot. Dude, she has to be nice to you. If she isn't, then she, best case scenario, loses her tip or worst case, her job. I'm 46, female, overweight, and average. Yet on a typical day running errands, I have at least 6 random dudes hit on me, try to look down my shirt, etc. It gets old, and you never know which one is going to go full idiot rage mode if he doesn't think you responded appropriately to his hitting on you. Please, please, please leave women just trying to do their jobs alone. I am graduating with my college degree in just a few weeks. My parents are coming into town for graduation. We are a solid middle-class family, but my parents are extremely budget conscious. We grew up watching every penny, and most would consider them cheap, even if we didn't have to. They did many things to save money growing up, but one of the biggest is packing their own lunch and dinner whenever they would go anywhere. Sporting events, concerts, vacations, anywhere you could see them with a huge cooler filled with sandwiches or a portable tailgate grill to cook up something in the parking lot. They never go out to eat, and while that's fine and taught me good money habits, the inconvenience of it all got to be a pain, from lugging giant coolers around all day to losing space in the car for road trips, to honestly the embarrassment of the weird looks we would get from grilling in the hotel parking lot. It just registered that it wasn't normal. The older I got, the less sense it made, especially when you're on vacation. The last thing I want to do is run to the grocery store or put in some work to get my meals. On top of that, I always enjoyed trying new restaurants and different food. So when I got into doing things on my own, I realized I wasn't going to be this way. For some reason, packing sandwiches is really important to them. I don't know what it is, but they don't take it well anytime there's a suggestion to do something other than that. On the day of my graduation, they suggested that they pack sandwiches for lunch and eat them in the parking lot after graduation was over. I raised an objection to it, saying that I will have just accomplished something big. Quite frankly, the last thing I want to do is immediately set up lawn chairs and sit out in the heat in dress clothes eating a sandwich, and that we should go to one of the cool places in my college town. I suggested we go somewhere low-key and not remotely expensive, enjoy a nice meal, and just relax and enjoy the day. They went on to lecture about how this is what we do and all sorts of other stuff. So I just resorted to saying I would go out with some friends instead, but I'd be happy to hang out with them after that. I really don't want to be pampered or spoiled or go to some 5-star steakhouse. Still, I was irked that my once-in-a-lifetime accomplishment would just be shrugged off and we would treat it like any other day. So, am I the idiot for wanting to go do something different? Not the idiot. Skimping on a vacation meal, thrifty. Skimping on a celebratory graduation meal, cheap as hell. There's a huge difference between being frugal and miserly. Frugal means saving money and making an occasional splurge for things that matter to them or are worth the price, i.e., a $99 pair of durable shoes is better than a $10 ill-fitting stained pair of sneakers from a thrift store. Most people would make an exception to celebrate major life events or milestones, and OP wasn't demanding an expensive steakhouse meal. Not the idiot. The parking lot? Couldn't they haul their coolers to a nearby literal park with trees and shade and picnic benches? They can have fun eating their sandwiches in the hot parking lot while you celebrate as you deserve.